Keyword outline. Have you ever been sitting in one of your TAMU calculus classes and you just think to yourself, why am I learning this? Like, I see no real world application, or this isn't really applicable to my degree at all. Why am I being forced to take this class? Well, all throughout school, I always thought math was tedious and procedural. But until my senior year of high school, I didn't realize that I actually enjoyed math for the creativity that it offered. And it didn't start off that way, and I still have some opinions I'd like to share on how schools teach math in school, but I'd also like to share my reasoning as to how I discovered the creativity in math, and also how it affects my life today. So again, when I started in school, learning math, it was always very tedious, and I felt like I was always being told to follow someone's instruction exactly. And there was all this pressure on me to perform on top of that. So when I was studying, I was just thinking, oh, I must learn this method for this many cases and I have to do it right because I have to get good grades because it's important for my life, which made it so hard to look past that and see all the creativity that math actually had to offer. So again, that is true. And eventually I was able to look past that. So my senior year of high school, I took my first calculus class. And in calculus, I encountered the limit definition of the derivative. And this was an idea that started to change my perspective completely on math. And the reason why is because it was such a simple idea, but it arrived at such a weird conclusion. In fact, it was so simple, I felt like I could have thought about it myself, but the conclusion was so contradictory to all the other stuff I'd learned in school because it essentially was a clever way of dividing by zero. Or another way to express it is that the derivative is an instantaneous rate of change, but change implies before and after, so how can it be happening in an instant? And that sort of blew me away. And then later we went and learned integrals in class, but we didn't learn the limit definition of the integral. And so I went and decided to do it on my own. And it was really difficult. I needed a lot of online help, and simple cases still took pages of work. And so it was successful, I would say. But the important part wasn't that I did it. It was that I realized that I love getting problems where I was just told, here's the problem, and just find the best way that you can think of on your own to solve it. And I didn't really realize that math has a lot of this. And so senior year of high school at the time, I realized, okay, I actually enjoy math, so I should probably find a degree in it, right? And so I did, and that's the large reason why I'm currently pursuing a degree in computer science. And a lot of you might be asking, well, why not math? Isn't that what you like so much? And yes, but mathematicians don't actually make much money at all. So I figured that it's probably safer just to stick with computer science. In fact, the world's most famous mathematician only has a net worth of $5 million, which most of it comes from prize money, meaning he's outcompeting the other 99.9% of people for that money. And so again, I just thought I'd stick with it. And I'm really glad I did, because in class, a lot of times, the problems we get are very open-ended, where they say, here, we want something that does this, just go figure it out. Use whatever ideas you can think of, or maybe try and incorporate some technique that we learned earlier, but either way, the solution is your own and you're forming it yourself. You're not being told what to do. And so overall, I think math is really creative. Sure, learning the tools can sometimes be boring, but it's necessary to learn the tools. You have to learn to use a paintbrush before you can paint a painting. So next time you're sitting in class or something and you think like, oh man, I really hate this. This is boring. I don't need this. You can perhaps just remind yourself that, well, you might actually need this if you want to do something fun later. And I think for me, that's helped me so much along the way. But if that's not encouragement enough, I would strongly recommend checking out one of the two YouTube channels, 3 Blue 1 Brown or Numberphile. They're both YouTube channels that use visual aids to give very simple explanations to certain topics and arrive at wild conclusions without you actually having to go through the rigor of all of it. So that's basically how math has affected me. Thank you.